Hey everybody, Rose Matter here, and welcome to, what are we at, part 35 of Umineko? It's hard to keep track. It's always weird when you start a new chapter to remember, okay, what part am I on? But we are starting chapter 4. And people, based on, my chapter 3 discussion and theories, people are all like, oh my god, you're going to love episode 4, you're going to love episode 4. And apparently this is the last question arc too. So I'm excited to find out why. Why am I going to love Chapter 4 so much? Chapter 3 was amazing, like everybody said, so I have no doubt that I will also very much enjoy Chapter 4. Is it because of Angie? Is that going to be what's going to make me love Chapter 4? That is what I'm excited about, is given the circumstances of the last episode with Angie and Beato and Vergelia and all that, like, how is Chapter 4 going to go? What part is Angie going to play in this? I can't wait to find out. So, as I always do, I think I've talked long enough. You guys just wanted to watch me play episode 4, so let's go ahead and let's get it started. Alright, we are just skipping. We know this. We know all the characters by now. Let's just get right to the island. Let's get this going. And this is so weird. Like, with what happened in episode 3, I'm never going to be able to look at Ava the same way again. The other characters, I can't say if they've killed anyone, but we know Ava has. We know she's capable of murder, which isn't that much of a surprise. And potentially Hideyoshi, too. これ以上は落ちへんで。In the lobby of the Nijima airport, Maria dashed around in excitement. Battler's uproar in the plane must have been very funny to her. こらマリア、いい加減にしなさい。ごめんねバトラ君。気を悪くしないでね。情けねえ男だなお前は。でけえ図体して相変わらず乗り物はダメなのかよ。うるへえ。人間誰しも苦手なもんの一つや二つあるもんだぜ。バトラ君、今度おばさんと一緒に海外旅行に行きましょうよ。ヨーロッパとか行かない？半日も飛行機に乗ってればきっと克服できるわよ。母さんもよしなよ。バトラ君の乗り物嫌いはきっと遺伝だよ。ああ、アスムさんの？あいつどういうわけか乗り物系がダメでな。I may have mentioned this before, but I will agree. I will be like Battler's mom, and like Battler, I have a hard time in a lot of vehicles. I can't stay in a car for long periods of time. Oddly enough, the one time I did take a plane, I was okay, but that's because it was only like a 3-hour plane ride. The heights didn't bother me, it's the feeling of being trapped. So if I'm in a vehicle for more than a couple of hours, I start to get pretty squirrely, and I'm like, okay, we need to pull over, and I need to take a break. For me, even sometimes the car causes me problems. I literally have little wristbands with like little pressure point things because I get a little car sick out of anxiety. It's pretty bad. Yeah. I wasn't that bad. I wasn't saying like, I'm gonna scream, I'm gonna fall. It's just like, oh, I feel nauseous. And a boat? Ugh, forget about it. Ugh. A cruise ship I'm sure I could handle. I've never been on a cruise ship before, like as long as I don't feel it moving. But like little charter boats and stuff like that, oh no, no, no. 子供は親が苦手がるものを危険だと学ぶものです。きっとバトラ君はアスムさんのそういうところを見て乗り物は怖いものだと覚えてしまったんでしょうね。And also, Kyrie and Rudolph, I mean, I knew, especially Kyrie was a badass, but like, after seeing the last episode, I'm like, damn, they are so cool. And knowing how much Kyrie hates Asuma, and despises Battler. Not despise, but resents Battler a little bit is surprising.
さあな。だとしたら迷惑な遺伝子だな。アスムの話はよせ。今ここにいるのはお前だ。そうだろ。
そうね。ごめんなさい。
おい、ハイヤーが来たで。ちょうど3台や。乗るで、乗るで。
落ちる落ちる。パラシュートどこ、パラシュートどこ。
こんにゃらー待て待て待ちやがれくすぐりの刑に称してやる
元気でいいわ。バトラ君とマリアちゃんがいてくれなかったら機内の空気はさぞや硬かったでしょうね。
ありがとうよ。言葉通りの意味で受け取っとくぜ。ほらガキども、タクシー来てるぞ。お遊びは後にしろい。
This seems a little different. Didn't they take the planes to where the boats were? Maybe that's just something I hadn't seen before. Maybe they have to take a plane to the airport and then to take a taxi over to where the boats are. My goodness, that is... I know they said that it was even worse beforehand, but my, what an ordeal.
タクシータクシー。マリア一番乗り。
こら、マリアもバトラ君ももうはしゃがない。人にぶつかるわよ。
The tone of Auntie Rosa's voice became a little frightening. Badler, too, had started to think that perhaps he really was fooling around too much, when, just as expected, he bumped into someone.
すみません。バトラ君たちはあっちの車だよ。待たせちゃってるよ。
Rushed on by George, Badler made an apologetic gesture to the person he had bumped into, and ran up to his parents, who were telling him to come quickly. Why are they being so secretive about the person he bumped into? Was that George he bumped into? Or are they hiding someone, like maybe Angie? Except Angie would be in their car. Oh, I was thinking about that. I'm like, Angie, I doubt that Angie would actually be physically here. My guess was that she was going to be in the meta world helping Badler. With clunking sounds, the doors on the 3 taxis were shut one after another, and they departed, heading for the harbor. Oh, what a nightmare for Badler. He's got to deal with a car, and a plane, and a boat, as our taxis dashed away. The entire world grew suddenly dull and slow to a halt. Oh, are we getting into this already? Are we doing the meta world stuff already? What's going on here? What's this? What's this? Voices, the wind, even sound. Absolutely everything ceased. And as if they'd been frozen in the instant a photo was taken, everything moving or about to move stopped. People, machines, clock hands, even the dust dancing in the wind frozen. This is the fastest this has ever happened. People who were in the middle of walking, frozen, with one foot still raised. Scraps of paper dancing in the wind, frozen, pinned in midair. And among those stationary figures in this world that had come to a standstill, a single one moved. She's here! Wow, she did not take long to make her entrance. Amazing. But she's her older self, so it's no 6-year-old Angie. It was a woman. The very woman that Badler had just bumped into. I called it. But he didn't recognize her, of course, because he doesn't know her at that age. It was truly the slightest of movements. Her gaze dropped, her shoulders lowered a minuscule amount, and she sighed. That was all. In a normal world, that probably wouldn't even count as movement. But in the still world, it looked very out of place. Then something else moved. It was a black cat that had been dozing in the shadows near the taxi rank. Oh my gosh, does she have a kitty cat, like, familiar or a buddy? Who's this? It came up right behind the woman and leisurely changed its form into that of a human. Is it Birkenstall? Is that the whole thing, like Birkenstall, Rika, cat, like that whole thing? It is too. The cat. It wasn't a cat. It was a witch. Of course, the woman was also a witch. As the witch stood there, her gaze still downwards, she muttered.
みんながロッケン島へ行くのを私は止められないのね。
止められないわ。1986年10月4日に。
私がここにいたならみんなを止めることも不可能ではなかったの。
6歳の女の子がどう立ち回れば彼らを引き返させることができるのか。 私には想像もつかないけれど。そうね。もしこの場にいたなら、確
Oh.
率はゼロではなく、
Oh my gosh, are we gonna get a little baby Angie here?
ゼロでない
Somehow.
確率ならば、私は奇跡を
That's what it
探
seems
し
to
出
be
せる。
implying.
私が体調を崩して置いていかれなければ。
With her head facing downwards, the witch tightened her fists. They were trembling very slightly.
あなたが寝込んだのは1986年10月3日。そしてベアとのゲーム版は10月4日から切り取られている。あなたには体調を崩さない可能性が与えられていない。つまりあなたは本来絶対にゲーム版に上がれない存在なのよ。
Well, so much for that then.
恩着せがましくてありがとう。分かってるわ。こうしてお父さんやお母さんやお兄ちゃんの元気そうな姿を見られただけでも、これはとても素敵な奇跡なんだって分かってるもの。
Angie had been trying to stand in the way of her family and prevent them from going outside the airport towards Rokkenjima. But that was impossible for Angie, who could not exist there on October 4th, 1986. Just receiving a shoulder bump and words of apology from her older brother, even though he hadn't known she was his sister, that was still a miracle. It could have moved her to tears. So that's in itself, like someone who shouldn't be there managed to
嫌味を言ってごめんなさい。
change something in the real world, albeit very slightly, so we gotta figure out how that's possible.
私はあなたにもらった奇跡を無駄になんかしないわ。
頼もしいわね。さあ、彼らと一緒に行きましょう。ロッケン島へ。駒たちがもうすぐすべて揃う。第4のゲームが幕を開けるわ。ベアともバトラももう席についてる頃よ。
ロッケン島へ。私の、いや、みんなの運命を変えた1986年10月4日のロッケン島へ。
What happened on that day? I will expose that, learn that, and I'll take them back. As she stood there with her fist still clenched, she surely turned her face to the heavens. A single teardrop from the depths of her eyes dripped down into the air. And when time started moving again, the two witches' figures were sucked into a blowing gale and erased in an instant. What an interesting opening. I love this. We're getting right into it. I knew Angie was going to come into play, obviously. But I didn't realize it was going to be so soon. Oh, wow, we're getting right to the gold room here.
おはようございます、お嬢様。これは上機嫌なご様子。快適なお目覚めのようですな。
快適な目覚めどころか、ワクワクして一睡もできなかったぞ。何しろ楽しい第4のゲームの幕開けだからな。
It seemed she truly had been so excited she hadn't gotten any sleep, and yet she shows absolutely no sign of tiredness. Was that due to her youth or her low mental age? Wow. Ronave chose not to say that aloud and laughed with a poo-hoo-hoo instead.
前回はバトラのやつを徹底的にケチョンケチョンにしてやった。あのまんまと騙されたというバトラの顔。
Now, I am choosing to believe that that was not fully an act. I like to believe that you actually were getting along with him, if even a little bit.
実にざまあなかったぞ。それにしてもやつめ、まだへこんでるのではあるまいな。
へこんでいると申しますと。
Interesting that they're opening up in the gold room.
まあ、そのだな。
It almost makes it seem like I don't believe that they're true entities, but it's like they're hiding. They've been hiding here the whole time in each of the games they were hiding in this room.
あやつめ、
いい年してちょっと素直すぎるとことかあるだろ。
ございますな。そこが魅力とも申しますが。
そうであろう、そうであろう。まあそれでだ。前回のあれ、あやつめコロッと引っかかってくれたであろう。
ええ、コロッと豪快に。生まれてからただの一度も人に騙されたことのない無垢なバラのつぼみにも似た純粋さをお嬢様が存分に蹂躙を。冬の朝、美しき新雪の平原を存分に駆け回って踏みにじり尽くす喜びにも代え難いでしょうな。お嬢様はバトラ様の純粋な心を実に痛快に豪快に無残に無慈悲に無教養に、実はちょっぴりやりすぎちゃったんじゃないかななんて不安になってしまうくらいに暴虐の限りを尽くされましたとも。普通ならへこむでしょうな。それはもう二度とお嬢様の顔も見たくない。
I wonder if Ronove seems to be poking at her a little bit. Maybe he knows that she maybe has some weird feelings for Badler, and he's just poking fun and be like, oh yeah, you like unequivocally destroyed his heart, and he probably hates you now, and she probably she still doesn't want him to hate her. I don't believe that. Yeah.
分かっておるではないか。
And she's just playing it off like, yeah, that's totally what I want to do.
わらわはそのだな。いよいよ第4のゲームが始まるというのに、もしもあやつが意気消沈していて卓につかないというようなことがあったらまた面倒だなぁと思い、そうならば先に対策を準備した方が良いかと思い、お前に先にそれを問うたわけだ。
でしたらやはり対策をご用意された方がよろしいでしょうな。残念ながらバトラ様はお嬢様の例の北風と太陽作戦でかなりショックをお受けになったようです。
ほうショックというとどのくらい？
It seems she's a bit too sincere with her feelings as well. She kind of does wear them on her sleeve a little bit. Beato lowered her voice slightly, asking timidly. Ronove went along with that and lowered his voice in the same way.
実は膝を抱いてうずくまられて
Poor Badler
もう大
baby.
変になります。
Hmm.
何度かお声をおかけしたのですがお返事をされません。お食事もお運びしたのですが手を触れた様子もありません。
それは難儀だな。
It's almost like in a weird way, it's almost like a first love, where it's like the whole thing where Ronove said, like, you took his innocent heart and you smashed it. It's like the end of a relationship. You know, it's like your first relationship. It's all sunshine and rainbows, and then she just broke his heart.
あやつ、そこまでへこんでおったか。
無理もありますまい。何しろお嬢様が
And Ronove totally knows it.
におやりになられましたからな。普通なら人間不信になりましょうな。
ほう、人間不信なら好都合。人間など見限って魔女を信じると良いぞ。すまぬ。ふざけが過ぎた。
Beato had tried to joke about it, but it seemed the situation was quite serious, and after picking up on this, she hid her laughter.
そんなにも深刻なのか？第4のゲームの開始はもう少し待ってやった方が良いか？
ベルンカステル教のお客人もおいでになっておりますので、第4のゲームは速やかに開始された方がよろしいでしょう。ただお嬢様はバトロ様に多少気を使われても良いかもしれませんな。人な？ど
を使えばよいのか。
She's like latching on. So my guess is that the reason that she went so hard at the end, I don't think she wanted to, but there was that whole thing at the end with during the tea party where Lambda Delta said like, you are a human and I gave you powers to be a witch and I could take those away. And she's using Beato as her game piece to destroy Birkenstall, however you pronounce it. So Beato kind of I feel like she doesn't want to go so hard against Badler, but she has to, or else she's going to lose her powers. So she broke his heart a little bit more than she wanted to, and she needs to find a way to rectify that, but also keep the game going.
あやつは落ち込んでいるのだから、そうだな、元気づけてやるとか。
心を暗く閉ざした者に暗く接しても無駄なこと。
This music is so jazzy and funky, and it feels so strange in this game.
その暗闇に負けないほどの明るさで照らし出すほかないでしょうな。
ちっくしょー、いい加減にしやがれ。
あんたごときにロの上様が焼いてくれたクロワッサンなんてもったいないもん。私が美味しく食べちゃおうかな。
Badler's stomach involuntarily growled at the fragrant smell of the croissant. His breakfast plate was empty, but he hadn't eaten any of it. The biggest glutton of the seven sisters of Purgatory, Beelzebub, had waited for Ronave to leave, and then had come to snatch the food away. Badler had discovered her in the process, and they had been charging about causing a crazy amount of noise ever since. Even though Beelzebub could have ended it by either giving it back already or throwing it into her own mouth, she intentionally ran around in circles making fun of Badler. Knowing what happened to him last time, this feels so strange. It's just like, this feels too lighthearted.
俺の朝飯返しやがれ。今返したらデコピン一発で許してやる。もしも食ったりしてみろ。
代わりにお前を食べてやるぞって私を食べられるものなら食べてごらんなさいよ。きっとパンケーキの蜂蜜のように甘いから。
捕まえた。今はてめえの太ももよりそのパンが食いてんだ。おとなしくそいつを返しやがれ。ふっかギギギギギギギこいつ最後まで抵抗を。
ダメよダメよ、あげないもん。クロワッサンも私に食べてほしいって思ってるもん。
イエーイ
Oh my god. That was amazing. This is so weird. She's like a game show host coming in.
こいつ朝っぱらからまだくよくよしてるのか。新しい一日とゲームの始まりであるぞ。元気出して行ってみよう。
And the music is gonna stop. The door opened forcefully, like a marathon runner drawn on a certain caramel box. With her hands held high and with an idiotic cheeriness, Beato appeared. Alright, let's check out this caramel box thing. Glico Caramels, the Japanese confectionery company Glico, also famous for producing Pocky, began its business in 1922 with boxes of Glico Caramels, which featured art of a running man triumphantly smiling with his arms raised. The marketing was that a single caramel gave you the energy to run 300 meters. The Glico running man became an iconic trademark and mascot that the company still uses today. Interesting. For some reason, countless country flags and confetti scattered everywhere, creating what was clearly intended to be the perfect party atmosphere. I just love how, like, lighthearted it is right from the start. Badler and Beelzebub, who had been grappling on the floor over the croissant, completely forgot about their argument and stared at her speechless.
おはようございます、ベアトリーチェ様。それでは私はこれで。はい、バトラ君、あーして。
よう、おはよう、ベアト。朝から絶好調なようで何よりだ。
It's weird how casually he's he's talking to her. I thought he'd be furious with her after before. Beto and Badler looked at each other. It's just awkward. It's like writing to your ex out in public. It seemed neither had a clue what was going on with the other.
バトラーどういうことだろうの上元気そうじゃねえかよ膝抱いてないし返事してるしというか食事中だったし
Oh, did he lie? Just to get them maybe in the same room and talking?
いえいえ、毛布の中で膝を抱くようにぐっすりお休みでございまして、お目覚めの時間をお知らせしたのですが、まるでお気になられず、食事をしようにもいたずら猫が迷い込んでそれどころではなかったようって。
There's that little kind of, I guess it's a callback that you shouldn't trust exactly what these people are saying. They can say something, but you have to find the interpretation in what their words are.
よく言うぜ。てめえこそ前回はでっかく騙してくれやがったじゃねえか。事情はさっぱりだが、朝からいい気味だぜ。とりあえずロノベ、朝からナイス。
恐れ入ります、バトラ様。
The two stuck up their thumbs as though they had forged some kind of male bond, chuckling together. For a while, Beto acted very energetically, trying to hide her embarrassment. That was amazing.
俺をあんまり舐めるんじゃねえ。まさか俺が膝を抱いて、まだいじけてるとでも思ってたのかよ。
前回あれだけ悔し涙を流しておったのはどこの誰だというのか。あの涙をたっぷりと小瓶にでも集め、化粧水にすればよかったわ。
うるせえや。あれはてめえの下手くそな芝居の頂点会にちょいと驚かされちまっただけだ。みっともねえとこ見せちまったが、二度と同じ手が通用すると思うなってんだ。
無論よ。同じ手に何度も引っかかってわらわを失望させるな。
ああ、見てろよ。俺はくじけるたびに強くなる男だってことを教えてやるぜ。だがな、ベアト。
なんだ？
This is when it's gonna get serious. Oh.
ほう、なんでだ？やはり絡めては苦手か？
俺とお前は敵同士で絶対に手を取り合うことはないってことを俺はもうはっきりと理解した。だからもう二度とそれを勘違いさせるような不愉快な真似をするな。
Oh, that was Battler being like, I thought maybe we could be friends. And he just feels betrayed by that.
そうは言うがな、そなたの弱点と知って。
Oh, she hesitated. Beto thought they were still joking around, but that had disappeared from Badler's expression some time ago. Beto felt as though his eyes were like the surface of black tea gone cold.
いいな。二度とするな。
わからんぞ。忘れた頃にまたやるかもな。
二度とするな。
Pierced by a strong and forceful gaze, Beato held her tongue. She may have thought Badler would surely be the one to break that silence with laughter. However, Badler's serious expression didn't change in the slightest. So to break that silence, Beato had no choice but to start laughing herself.
それでよい。そなたとわらわは好敵手。どのような良好な関係になろうとも、 敵同士であることの一線を越えることはない。そなたがそれを勘違いしなかったなら、わらわはそれで十分だ。
そうだな。お前が敵であることを一瞬だけ忘れかけた。二度と同じ醜態は晒さない。お前の絡め手にかかることは二度とない。二度と。
第4のゲームが待ちきれないのはどうやらわらわだけではなかったらしい。嬉しいぞバトラー。さあ席につけ。
ああ、望むところだぜ。もう小手先の騙しは効かねえぞ。
生きがるな。前回のゲームの最後の謎、南條殺しの謎も降参したままのくせに。
今はまだ答えを保留するさ。だがな、くじけたわけじゃねえぞ。必ずお前の真っ赤な真実を破り、魔女を否定してみせる。
良い心意気だ。やはりそなたは不死鳥のごとき男よ。わらわの見込みを裏切らぬ。それでは第4のゲームの幕を開けよう。だがその前に我らは新しい客人を迎えなければならないよ。
Oh, is he gonna get to see Angie right here? Oh, what a reunion that's gonna be.
客人？
そなたも覚えておる？
Oh, I guess he's not gonna actually like see her in person, but he's gonna see her in that world.
前回のゲームの最後で招待状もなく現れ、余興を台無しにした謎の女よ。
あいつか。
わらわたちのゲームに加わりたいというのでな、正式に招待状を送り、この席へ招かせていただいた。ロノウェ、
Oh,
客人を呼べ。
oh, he is too. He's gonna get to meet her. Well, he has met her, but he's gonna get to find out who she is. Oh, that's gonna be such a sweet reunion. Please let them be able to
その
actually.
必要はないわ。
Oh my gosh, she's here.
もういるわよ。
The voice that answered Beato's call came from the darkness in a corner of the room. Battler turned around in surprise to discover the mysterious woman was suddenly there. I like this. I guess this is kind of like Angie's, like almost like her theme song. I really like it.
おやおや、そなたも人が悪い。来ていたならば挨拶の一つもすればよいもの。
私、殴る前に挨拶する習慣ないの。でも、殴り終わってからならしてあげるわ。
ほう、なんとする？
軍内、Have a nice dream.
So I read one of the comments that I didn't catch is that when Badler, like when he would speak in English and he was doing kind of those dorky phrases in English and he was like, oh man, those are so cringy. But then Angie seems to do them completely in seriousness, and maybe she thinks it sounds a little bit cool. It's like she's copying her big brother that she admires, and she doesn't realize it's a little cringe.
笑える。実に笑える。
Beato cackled and clapped her hands. But that was only Beato, and nothing rose to Badler's face except an uncertain smile.
あんた、武闘派だな。
Badler? I'm afraid he's gonna say something. He's gonna hit on her before he realizes it's his sister. Half sister. But still. Badler met eyes with the woman, shrugging his shoulders as he spoke. But the woman didn't answer, giving only a cold stare in return.
前回は土壇場で世話になったな。礼を言うぜ。
礼なんていらない。あなたがぶったるんでただけよ。私は目を覚ませと言っただけ。
そうだな。バトラはぶったるんでるな。
Beato tried to laugh in agreement, but the woman wasn't listening. She did absolutely nothing except stare at Badler with ice-cold eyes. Are you not going to tell him who you are?
俺は嫌われてるみてえだな。
あなたが本気で戦ってないからイラついてるだけよ。
俺が本気じゃないだと。
まさかあの低たらくが本気だったとでも？バカにしないで。 いつまでこんな魔女の茶番に付き合ってるつもりなの？
俺は俺なりにベアトと戦ってる。もちろん本気でだ。
本気で？笑わせないで。魔女といつまでも永遠にお茶を飲んで談笑しているだけのあなたが本気で戦っている？冗談は髪型だけにして。
wow.
そりゃ俺も最初はこの魔女のゲームに不慣れで散々な目に遭わされてきたさ。だがな、ようやく戦い方やそのコツが見えてきたところだ。俺のこれまでの無様さがあんたには本気でないように見えたのなら、それは誤りだぜ。
そう？
確かに俺がベアとの胸ぐらをつかみ上げるのに必要な距離はまだ、しかしその距離はどれほど長大であろうとも有限だ。そして俺はゲームを重ねるごとに一歩一歩確実にその距離を詰めている。
Battler chooses to play the long con. We'll say that. That's his justification.
時間はかかろうともあの魔女を追い詰め必ずチェックメイトする。それには奴がよく口にするように1000年をかけるかもしれねえ。だがそれでもいつか必ず打ち勝つ。なぜか俺が絶対に負けを認めないからだ。絶対に立ち止まらない。追い詰め続ける。だからつまり言えることはただ一つ。俺はいつか必ずあの魔女に勝つってことだ。
気の長い話ね。あなた勝つ気あるの？有限もその扱いを間違えれば無限と化す。今のあなたはすでに亀すら追い越せないアキレスなのよ。なるほどね。私が必要なわけだわ。こんなざまじゃ何億年をかけようとも無限の魔女に勝てるわけがない。
It's interesting to hear what at the time she was 6 and Battler was what 18. She must have looked up to him as like, you know, her big cool brother, and now here she is just talking down to him and just shit talking him. Finally, yes, like please introduce yourself. Or does she have to keep it a secret? Is she not allowed to tell him? Maybe that's part of the rules. Oh, is she gonna say it? Come on, say it. At that point, the woman fell silent, gazing straight into Battler's eyes. Maybe she's upset, like, do you not recognize me? At first, Battler faltered under the firmness of that look, and his gaze wavered slightly. But as her eyes continued to stare into his gradually, he found himself becoming lost in them. And in their depths, he saw a light he had seen it some time before. Man, when you put them next to each other, they really do look like brother and sister. I can't believe I didn't make that connection when she first arrived. Battler was struck at how strongly they resembled the eyes of a girl who definitely couldn't be here. But that was completely impossible.
そんなバカなとは思うんだが、なぜかそんな気がするんだ。でもそんなことあるわけがない。まだあいつは6歳のはずだ。お前まさかエンジなのか？
そうだと言ったらあなたは信じるの？言い方を変えるわ。私はあなたの味方よ。だから信用してと言ったらあなたは信じるの？初対面の正体不明の女が自分の知人になんとなく似ているからという理由だけで
What if he's like, yes, I would, and then she smacks him and be like, and that's why you keep failing.
そんなお人よしだから。
Yes, exactly.
前回のゲームであっさり騙されて悔し涙をボロボロこぼすことになるのよ。
Oh, poor Battler.
あなた自分で言ったわ。その子は6歳なんでしょ？私が6歳に見える。
Oh, that's so sad that she can't. She must deep down want to tell him, like, yes, I'm your sister. And it's just her first time seeing him, and she must be trying to hold those feelings down, but she's got to stay cool.
にもかかわらず、私がその子だと実証したなら、それを鵜呑みにするの？
それを言われると弱えな。
Oh, that's so sad.
すまん。そうだな。俺はお人よしだ。そいつを前回のゲームで思い知らされたはずなのにな。 お前が言う俺が本気じゃないってのはそういう意味か？
そうよ。あなたは魔女と戦っているつもりでしょうけど、ただ慣れ合って遊んでいるだけ。チェスで仲良く戦って遊んでいるだけなのよ。あなたたちにとってそれは真剣勝負でしょうけれど、それを離れて見ている私には仲良くルールに守られてただ遊んでいるようにしか見えない。
Angie's not wrong. It is sad, though, that she's basically telling her brother, don't trust me either. I can't wait for the reveal once he realizes who she actually is.
きついな。
でもそのお遊びに勝てない限りあなたはここから解放されない。だから私が来たのよ。このゲームに決着をつけるためにね。今のあなたは魔女を追い詰めていると称しながら車輪の中を延々と走り続けるハムスターみたいなもの。
あれか。夜な夜なくるくると車輪の中を走り続けるあれか。
車輪の中を走り続けることは一見無限のように思えるかもしれない。無限の魔女ベアトリーチェ、まるであなたのことね。そしてその車輪の中で戦ってるつもりで滑稽にいつまでも走り続けているのが彼。これはゲームじゃない。彼を永遠に閉じ込めているだけのカゴでしかない。
ほう。わらわの無限をネズミが遊ぶ車輪風情に呼ばわるか。面白い面白い。
ある次元における無限はより高次元において無限をなさないものよ。メンガーのスポンジが無限の表面積を持つのは3次元未満の世界での話。3次元の現実においては質量ゼロ。無限どころか存在さえできない。
威勢のいい女よ。わらわの敵を名乗る程度の資格はあるらしい。
あんた何者なんだ？
Angie, tell him. Tell him. Maybe she's afraid by telling him she's gonna mess things up. But I want him to know.
私はあなたの味方。そして魔女の敵よ。もちろん信じなくていい。
Maybe she thinks by telling him who she is, that's somehow going to mess up the timeline, or it's going to mess things up. Did Birkenstall tell Angie, Battler can't know who you are, or is Angie just doing this just to, like, teach him, like, you know, don't trust everybody at face value. But also, I'm your ally, so trust me.
私が本当にあなたの味方であるかなんて。
Except she's not really saying trust me, because she's literally saying, like, make your own choices.
むしろ私のことをうさんくさいと思うくらいの警戒心の方が望ましいわ。
そうだな。前回ひでえ目に遭わされたんだ。
It's so bad, or not bad, but so sad that the brother and sister can't work together.
そのくらいの用心深さは必要だな。俺ももう二度と騙されるのはごめんだぜ。
Beato laughed with true satisfaction in a way that was insulting only to Badler.
人はいきなり騙されたりはしない。自らの確認を怠り、それを他人に委ねたとき、騙される。他の人が渡り始めたから、もう信号は青になったと思った。じゃあ、事故の言い訳にはならないってこと。わかる？
ああ、わかるぜ。与えられた情報を鵜呑みにするんじゃなく、自分の頭で考えろってことだろ。俺はベアトに見せられた魔法を鵜呑みにしていた。考えることをやめていた。だからダメだったんだ。
Badler grimaced as he remembered his many painful losses. Seeing that, the witch laughed audaciously once again.
私はあなたが有利になるように助言する。もちろんあなたは私のそれを鵜呑みにすべきではない。私が味方であることの絶対の保証なんて誰にもできないのだから。
In the last game, Vergalia, who I thought was an ally, turned out to be on the witch's side after all. Battler couldn't get that eerie smile worn by Vergelia, who he had even thought as dependable, out of his head. Yeah, she had a real creepy smile.
だから私を無条件で信用なんてしなくていい。故に私の助言も参考意見程度に留めてもらって大いに結構。だって魔女とのゲームを戦っているプレイヤーはあなたなんだから。
そうだな。外野の指し手に従って打ったから負けたなんて情けねえ言い訳だもんな。
そうとも。わらわの相手はバトラよ。そなたなど外野に過ぎぬわ。それをわきまえているとは良いことだ。
いいえ、外野じゃないわ。ベアトリーチェと後ろ宮バトラ、そしてそれを俯瞰する私がまるで三角形のような形になって戦うのよ。一見これは共闘ではないけれど、一緒に戦うばかりが共闘ではない。
ほう、珍妙なことを言い出す。
さっき彼は戦うことをあなたとの距離を詰めると表現した。でも一つの目では距離は測れない。二つの目があって初めて物事は立体的に見え、その距離も測れる。そして二つの視点があっても同じ場所からでは意味がない。
Yeah, Angie, because she's got experience with what happened afterwards, she can give Battler useful information. Whether she gives that information or not, she can't really give too much information because if she tells him, then he's gonna know who she is. And also she did say, like, hey, don't take everything I say at face value. But I understand what she means about, like, it's good to have multiple perspective of things.
離れている方が魔女を正確に測ることができる。
異なる立場から異なる角度で撃つ十字砲火ってことだな。面白いぜ。
異なる立場から異なる角度で撃つ。だから私は誰とも慣れ合わない。自分の立ち位置をずらし魔女を挟み撃ちにするために。
いいのかバトラー。その女は実はわらわが差し向けた伏兵かもしれぬぞ。もっともらしいことを言ってそなたを信用させようとしているだけかもしれぬぞ。
かもな。こいつはさっきからそれをずっと重ねていっている。だからこいつの助言はもちろん鵜呑みになんかできないだろうさ。
It's nice seeing him more confident in himself, though.
だがそれが信用に値するものか否か、俺は自ら考えて
I think maybe
取捨する
deep
ことが
down,
できる。
deep down he might have an idea of who she is, so maybe subconsciously he will choose to trust Angie.
俺が自ら考えることをやめない限り、俺はもう誰にも騙されない。
大した自信だぞ後ろ宮バトラ。そこまで言い切ったそなたをコロリとまた騙してみたいぞ。そして再び騙されたことを知った時のそなたがどんな顔を浮かべるのかわらわは見てみたい。気に入った。
なあ、あんたは俺の名を知ってるようだが、俺はあんたの名を知らない。名前を聞かせてくれ。
For a while, the woman remained silent, without the slightest change in her expression. She looked as though she couldn't decide whether to say her name or not, or possibly as though she were deciding what to call herself on the spot.
グレーテル。
Gretel. Okay. Like Hansel and Gretel? Is that like another witch name in folklore or something I don't know about?
グレテル？
Girdle.
お前がか？
バカね、名前よ。私のことはグレーテルと呼んで。
じゃあ俺はヘンゼルとでも名乗った方がいいか？冗談さ。俺は後ろ宮バトラ。バトラと呼んでくれ。
よろしく。握手は嫌い。気を悪くしないでね。
そうだな。悪い。
It's so sad that she has to be so cold towards her own sibling.
お前が味方と決まったわけじゃないしな。
She's like, you've already failed. You've already failed. I told you not to trust me, and you're already getting too friendly. Yes.
警戒心を持てって言われたばかりなのにな。
Badler's just too much of a little cinnamon roll for his own good. He's just too sweet and too trusting. Badler drew back the right hand he had stuck out. His bitter smile disappeared and was replaced with a strong expression of resolve for the new game, now in its 4th iteration.
バトラー、あなたはどうして魔女に勝たなければならないのか、よく考えて。気に入らないからやっつけるなんて抽象的なものではダメ。絶対に魔女を打ち倒して、この世界から抜け出すという強い信念を持って。あなたの帰りを待っている人が必ずいるから。その子のためにも。
Maybe she had something on her mind. Gretel clenched a fist in front of her chest and hung her head in silence, at a loss for words for a short while. Beato spoke up in a forceful voice, shattering that silence.
よし、これにてグレーテルとやらの自己紹介も十分であろう。さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。10月4日に何があったのか。第4のゲームの幕開けであるぞ。
In unison with her voice, the clock, which had been turned back to October 4th, 1986, started to move as though blown by a suddenly raging storm. While we remained in the witch's tea room, the blue-gray sea and the green Rokkenjima spread out beneath us, and we could see the boat heading there, trailing a wake behind it. The sky was already cloudy, and it seemed the barrier of the typhoon would soon shut the island away. The boat docked in the harbor, and Goda, who had been waiting there, could be seen helping to unload it. And finally, the boat dropped off all the passengers and began to separate from the island. The relatives started to get swallowed up by the island.
マリアは相変わらず元気だな。
マリアちゃん、気をつけないと転ぶよ。気をつけて。
All my fondly remembered cousins I'd loved so much dashed away through the beach, disappearing as they were sucked into the forest path leading to the mansion. And of course, Oni-chan could be seen among them too.
くっそー。待て待てマリア。こんなすばしっこいやつめ。
Is this Angie's first time actually seeing what's happening? Oh, this is gonna be tough for her. Maria Oni-chan, who I had loved, dashed away, and Oni-chan chased after her. They were swallowed up by the forest. Following in pursuit, Mom and Dad were also swallowed up. The rest of my relatives were swallowed up too. Swallowed up, leaving only me behind.
バカ。いつまでこんなところで魔女と戯れて遊んでいるのよ。早く帰ってきてよ、お兄ちゃん。私を一人ぼっちにしないで。そして気がついて、残された私がどれだけ辛く寂しい世界で孤独を強いられるかを。
And we're starting strong. I love that Angie is in here. Oh, Angie's future. St. Lucia. She's at St. Lucia too. Well, they did say she was transferred to an all-girls academy, didn't they, at the end of the last chapter? So that shouldn't surprise me all that much. Wow, we're going all over the place. We are going all over the place with this one.
ごきげんよう。
Good day to you is the standard greeting used here. No matter how many years pass by, the style of greeting still feels very awkward. I had responded to the greeting in order to stifle that awkward feeling. But the classmate who had spoken looked at me blankly.
えなになに違うわよね。
Their choice of words and manner were certainly what you'd expect of a school for rich girls, but at their core, they were as innocent and cruel as any children of that age. It seems they found it funny I'd mistakenly thought the greeting had been directed at me. No, it might be the opposite. Maybe I should say they didn't know what to do after being greeted by an introverted kid like me. No, judging by the looks of my classmates, glancing this way over their shoulders and whispering to each other, there were even some who seemed to consider their refreshing morning ruined. I am depressing, because no one likes me. So trying not to get in the way of everyone's refreshing morning anymore, I entered the classroom in a low crouch, almost like I was cutting across the aisle in a movie theater while the movie was running. This is an all-dorm academy called St. Lucia Academy. It's not a school that just anyone can get into simply by passing a test. It's a hidden rich girls' school, known only to a select group of celebrities from various circles, for lofty nobles who truly wish their daughters to be brought up like saints. This is probably the ideal academy in which to protect them from the impurities of the common world. But at the same time, it's probably also a convenient place for nobles to confine daughters who they didn't want the public to know about, as well as an academy isolated from the impurities of the common world. It also held excellent potential as a prison school. Literally, as we found out from Higurashi, they have a literal jail cells underneath the school. I was truly among the latter and spent my days confined in St. Lucia Academy, as the weeks, months, and years dragged on at a mind-numbing pace. Of course, there weren't that many students like me. You couldn't tell us apart at a glance. However, even if they didn't come forward, you could usually guess from their appearance, because they were always hanging their heads all the time, with an expression on their faces as though the whole world had abandoned them. And every class had one or two kids like that, so even if they didn't speak up about it, you could guess who they were. So, even though I never confessed I was one of those kids, at some point everyone in the class knew. Just like how the seriousness of your injury grants you status in a hospital room, here, status is granted by the nobility of your birth. Those who aren't permitted to go out in public are probably nothing more than filth to them. They must think that getting involved with students like that would dirty them as well. Whenever such a rumor sprang up about a particular student, those facetious girls would about face and grow cold and distant, chasing that student out of all possible social groups. I have that to thank for this quiet and solitary school life of mine. Well, that's only if hearing people whisper behind my back, finding my things lost or broken all the time, and having everyone pretend like they don't know anything about it can be called a quiet school life. I must be wearing a weary expression already this morning. I can understand completely why my other classmates, who had been enjoying a refreshing morning, would want to click their tongues upon seeing it. Consciously trying to do my best to avoid tainting my classmates' morning, I quietly took my seat. Then, unusually, someone came to talk to me. It was the class leader.
ごきげんよう、白宮さん。朝からご機嫌斜めなご様子ね。ちゃんと睡眠は取られてる？
何かご用ですか？
学年発表会のアンケート、まだ提出してないの。後ろ宮さんだけよ。昨日までが提出日だったの。お忘れ？
I'm pretty sure I heard something about that sometime last week. But I think the questionnaire hadn't been passed out yet. All the necessary information would be written on that, so it should have been no problem to forget about it till it was handed out.
アンケート用紙もらってないですけど。
そんなはずありませんよ。
Oh, they're like setting her up for failure and then admonishing her when she doesn't do the thing.
寮長から全員にちゃんと配布されてるはずです。なくしてしまったならそうと素直におっしゃればいいのに。
なくしました。今すぐ書きますから。用紙をいただけますか？
Again, either someone lost my paper or they intentionally didn't tell me about it, but I have no way of knowing who was behind that. In the end, treating it as though it were my own carelessness would settle everything more quickly and without any drama.
書いたらご自身で生徒会室のアンケートポストに投函されるように。うちのクラスだけですよ。夕べまでに全員のが揃わなかったのは。
As I hung my head at the class leader's scolding, I could hear the giggles and whispers of people watching, coming from no direction in particular. Ushiramiya-san did it again, because she never concentrates. She is unsuitable for the school. She has neither class nor manners. Sorry, girls, but I've dealt with much worse when it comes to unfair personal attacks. I froze my heart and let those arrows of ridicule pass by as I quickly filled out the questionnaire. Poor Angie, yeah, what a terrible life she has. Like, nobody likes her. Her aunt, her only family member left, hates her. Her family's gone. Everybody hates her at school. Once again, the whole thing about how it says, like, her mom's surviving family on her mom's side, why didn't she go to live with them? When I heard the news that mom, dad, Oni-chan, and all the rest of my family had died, I was in the house of my grandpa on my mom's side. You think that they would take her in, right? But I guess we'll find out what happened. The only survivor of the accident was Ushiromiya Ava. Only Aunt Ava. Even at the time, I hadn't really liked Aunt Ava. At a glance, she seemed to act kindly to me, but even as young as I was, I could see clearly she was somehow belittling Dad and the rest, and I didn't like it. So when it was decided Aunt Ava would take care of me, I was pretty miserable. It wouldn't have mattered if my nice Uncle Hideyoshi and George Oni-chan could have been there too, but I hated the thought of living all alone with Aunt Ava. I had an honest talk with Grandpa about that, hoping I could live with him. However, Aunt Ava was very insistent that she should be the one to look after me, and Ava's got all the money. I wouldn't be surprised if she bought off her mom's side of the family. Aunt Ava had no desire to remarry, so she said I was essential for the succession of the Ushiromiya family. Aunt Ava felt very strongly about the house of Ushiromiya. She firmly demanded to take charge of me right away, so she could give me an education and lifestyle fitting for the successor. Complicated negotiations with lawyers apparently took place, but in the end I was forced to go live with Aunt Ava. After she took me in, Aunt Ava told me something. You must bear all the glory and history of the Ushiromiya family, and in order to make you a fitting successor to bear that, your life from now on will be dedicated to studying like hell. Sacrifice the rest of your life for the Ushiromiya family. She was definitive about it. At first I thought she meant exactly what she said, but I quickly realized that wasn't the case. Because even then, in Aunt Ava's eyes, the one most fitting to be successor was George Oni-chan, who had passed away. At my first meal, I was strictly instructed and interrogated about my table manners, and was forced to listen to her disparage Mom and Dad as though they had been neglectful in my upbringing. I also received the same strict instructions regarding manners at my first party, and I was insulted in public for my clumsiness, and forced to endure insults to Mom and Dad as well. After that happened enough times, I finally came to understand. Aunt Ava didn't really want to make me the successor. She thought the only one who was truly fitting to be the successor was George Oni-chan, and she couldn't forgive the fact it was going to be me. So I was disparaged in front of a lot of people, humiliated, and she made it known far and wide exactly how inferior I was to George Oni-chan, surely in memory of her dead son. No, she must still have been mourning his death. However, that wasn't something I could endure. I couldn't possibly live together with Aunt Ava. I would be eternally suffocated, continually compared with her dead son. Even as an elementary schooler, I understood that. I ran away from the house of Ushiromiya and tried to go to my grandpa's house. However, Aunt Ava had already foreseen that. No, thinking back on it, she may have lured me into escaping. I was caught by the guards and brought back, and for being a coward who had disgraced the Ushiromiya family crest and attempted to abandon the Ushiromiya name, I was punished in a way that makes my whole body shake and shiver just remembering. It's like Ava just adopted her as basically a punching bag to just like make her suffer for something that she had no say in. All because she was sick and she managed to avoid getting killed, probably by Ava. Ava probably would have killed Angie with no hesitation. How should I describe what Aunt Ava was like when she punished me? Frenzied? Gleeful? The anger and sadness of losing her beloved son, as well as her hatred and pain towards the fact I was going to steal the headship her son was meant to inherit, and the dark pleasure of being able to let those feelings out on me. So, I said in my prediction or my theory video for Chapter 3, I was like, I know for sure she didn't kill George because she loved George more than anything. And I said that she may have killed Hideyoshi, maybe not on purpose, but the way that she says about how she'll never remarry, and she obviously loves her husband very much, makes me even more doubtful that she had anything to do with Hideyoshi's death. So, Mark 2, George, Hideyoshi, she definitely didn't kill. I was pummeled with all those negative emotions at once. Then all my free time and freedom was taken away, and I was put under round-the-clock surveillance. I may have lived in a gorgeous mansion and been dressed in expensive clothes, but my heart and my dignity were being trampled upon, and I was the Ushiromiya family's slave, its cattle. Compared to that lifestyle, the derisive laughter of my classmates here even felt refreshing. It was no match for my heart. After filling in almost all the fields of the questionnaire with nothing in particular, I folded it up and put it in my pocket, because if I left it on the desk, I might lose it again. After dropping it off in the box at the student council room during lunch break, I finished lunch by myself as usual and headed behind the school building where no one was around. Only the time I spent by myself could protect me from the derisive laughter and whispered comments. Since I was hated and didn't have a single friend, my time alone was the most kind to me. After checking the surrounding bushes to see whether some malicious classmates were hiding and threatening my time of quiet, I finally relaxed the tension from my entire body, knowing I'd gained some true peace. Then I let out a sigh. It lingered heavy, as though it were the first time I'd breathed out today. My previous favorite place behind the vegetable garden storehouse had been found out by my classmates, and now they would mess with me there, so this was my new lunchtime hideaway. There was nowhere to sit behind the school building. I crouched down against a wall in the shadow of the bushes, opened my bag, and took out a book with an elaborate old-fashioned binding. Just glancing at it, you'd probably think it was a religious book written in the Middle Ages or something. But this isn't a book, it's a diary. Of course, it's not my diary. There aren't any special things worth writing about in my daily life. Every single day is just gray, cold, and dry. When nothing changes from day to day, there aren't any notable changes worth writing down. This is the diary of Maria Oni-chan, who I'd been very good friends with. Oh, I wonder if there's maybe any clues in here about who the culprit is. She was 3 years older than me and a bit of a funny person, but Oni-chan was always a warm, wonderful cousin. She'd always grab me by the hand and invite me to play some fun game. I remember that getting to see her was the most enjoyable thing about family gatherings. Though I preface this with, for an elementary schooler, the handwriting that greeted me when I opened the diary was fairly accomplished, and while admittedly it had been written using every other line, the pages were dense with text. Was she just hopelessly obsessed with jotting everything down in her diary? Probably not. To her, writing her daily life down in a diary was probably like having a conversation with another part of herself. So rather than a journal in which the events of her day were simply listed, Maria Oni-chan's diary was written like a letter to another Maria, telling her of the events of that day. I'd found this diary among her belongings after her death, and had secretly taken it home. At first I'd felt reading someone else's diary might be boorish, and had been satisfied to just keep it by my side. But I was unable to resist turning over a page or two, and slowly but surely I found myself reading through it. And now, she had become my only friend. Oh, it's so sad! I gently opened to the page with the bookmark.
マリアお姉ちゃん、お待たせ。また、お姉ちゃんのお話を聞かせて。
At the same time, a very, very soft breeze blew, tickling the pages. And I thought the open diary might have sparkled faintly. The weather was good. The weather is good today. Maria Oni-chan loves wonderful rays of sunshine, so I'm sure she's in a good mood. On the open diary, no, in the world of the diary, Maria Oni-chan showed herself. Aw, she had been 9, I believe, when she died, so her appearance was already younger than mine. But I call her Oni-chan, and in turn, she fondly calls me just Angie.
Oh, Angie, 今日は来るのが遅かった。お昼混んでた?
It's just weird for when she talked about how, like, Maria was older than her. It's just weird for me to think of anyone as younger than Maria, because I've only seen Angie as, like, a teenager.
いつも混んでるわ。仲良しグループたちが席を陣取ってる上に、食事を終えた後も席を塞ぎ続けてるから、食堂に行くのが遅くなると致命的ね。今日は片付けの当番だったから。
マリア、ご飯食べるの早い。早く食べ終わるとその分いっぱい遊べるの。
Maybe she noticed I was still bitter about how that duty had been forced upon me, shortening my lunch break by a bit. Maria Oni-chan brightly changed the subject. Grateful for that consideration, I responded that I'd eat slowly. Maria said something about how she'd teach me the trick to eating fast and cheered me up. I read it in the diary. No, I heard it from Maria Oni-chan. She was once ranked #1 among the girls on the speed eating leaderboard in her grade's newspaper. She had been very proud of that, but had apparently been a little disappointed her mother, Auntie Rosa, hadn't praised her very much for it.
今日のお話を始めるね。昨日はどこまでお話をしたかな。
ここまでよ。マリアお姉ちゃんがサクタロをプレゼントしてもらったところまで、サクタロの話を聞かせてくれる約束になってたわ。
サクタロのこと話すよ。サクタロはね、とっても可愛いぬいぐるみなの。エンジェもきっと気に入るよ。
うん。そのお話を聞かせて。マリアお姉ちゃんにお話を聞かせてもらえる昼休みだけが、学校で一番心を許せる時間だもの。
マリア話す。サクタロはね、
Watching Mario Oni-chan, who's always in a good mood, makes my heart feel warm as well. As I listen to her tale, I begin to get absorbed into her world. Oh my gosh. Like, it's so sad that this is Angie's coping mechanism, that she's like has to think back to her dead cousin, read her diary, and pretend she's there. In a sad way, I can understand why, if the other classmates caught her like talking to herself, talking to somebody that isn't there, that they would make fun of her even more. But oh, it's just like, what a sad way of coping of what happened.
Happy birthday, Maria.
Wait, are they at... Are they where I think they are? It looks... I can't assume every restaurant is Angel Mall, but it looks a little bit like it.
ごめんね。帰りが遅くなって。
Oh, she's so cute. It's weird seeing her without the little crown on her head.
ママもお仕事お疲れ様。マリア、ママが忙しいの知ってるから、遅くなっても泣かないで待ってた。おとなしくテレビ見て待ってた。
うん。マリアは偉いわね。お行儀よく待ってたご褒美に、今日は何でも好きなものを注文していいわよ。もちろん、食べきれる分だけだけどね。
今日はコーンスープをオニオングラタンスープに変えてもいい？
ええ、いいわよ。
200円高くなるけど、プロシュートピッツァに変えてもいい？
ええ、いいわよ。本当に食べられるならね。でもいっか、誕生日だしね。ちゃんとお行儀よく待ってたいい子のマリアにご褒美もないとね。
じゃあデザートにエンチェラードチーズケーキもつけていい？
Enchilada cheesecake. That's interesting. Mario has a very interesting taste in food, although, man, I do love prosciutto. That prosciutto pizza sounds very good.
あとね、シェフの気まぐれフルーツサラダにキッズフライドポテト。
And then Rose is like, and because it's your birthday, I'm not going to get on your case about going ooh ooh in public.
メロンソーダも飲みたい。マリアはいい子、マリアはいい子。ママに褒められた。
ちょっとはしゃぎすぎよ。もう少し静かにしないと他のお客さんに迷惑よ。
When Rosa gently admonished her, Maria stuck her tongue out and eased up a little. But it seemed she was having a hard time repressing her excitement at being able to eat out with her mother again after such a long time. Today was Maria's birthday. Rosa always spent Maria's birthday at a wonderful restaurant. When Maria had been in kindergarten, they had sometimes invited other kids from the neighborhood over and had a party at home. Rosa would make a wonderful cake and homemade sweets and decorate the house herself, making it a huge celebration. But after they moved and Maria no longer had any friends in the neighborhood, Rosa had started splurging at expensive restaurants instead. However, today, they were instead in a normal family restaurant. It was also a little late in the day for a kid like Maria to eat there, even with a parent. Rosa had actually gotten reservations at a fantastical place that Maria would have absolutely loved. Of course, she had also prepared a wonderful cake with Maria's name written on it. But Rosa just hadn't been able to finish up her work and had been forced to cancel. Since that had turned into a local family restaurant, Rosa felt a little indebted to Maria. So she was prepared to spoil Maria a bit and let her have whatever she wanted tonight.
マリアお姉ちゃんってあんまり食べないんじゃなかった？こんなに頼んで大丈夫なの？
あんまり食べられないけど、いっぱい並ぶのが好きなの。お誕生日のテーブルはね、 赤、青、緑に黄色、いっぱい色とりどりだと幸せになれるの。
そうね。お誕生日のテーブルってカラフルだと幸せな気持ちになれるわね。うちの誕生日はマリアお姉ちゃんのところにはだいぶ負けるけど、駅前のケーキ屋さんで買ってくるケーキがいつもとても華やかだったっけ。
Angie thought back to her own birthdays nostalgically. Even though Dad was busy, he sometimes came home just to show up at my birthday party, then went right back to his company. I was sad at the time, but now I understood how important I was to Dad. Of course, Mama also took very good care of me. In particular, she always had a really good sense in birthday presents, and sometimes arranged for them several months in advance. Even though we always sent an invitation to Battler Oni-chan, he didn't get along with Dad or something, so he didn't always come. So when he did come, I was really happy. The birthday parties when the whole 4-person family were together made for fun memories I'll never forget. The sad thing is, there's only a couple of years she could have remembered that, right? Because they died when she was 6. And she probably wouldn't have been able to remember anything past, like, maybe... So she could maybe remember from, like, 4 to 6 having good birthdays, and then that's it.
エンジェのお誕生日もとても楽しそうだね。バトラとルドルフおじさんがすごく賑やか。ワイワイキャッキャ。あ、バトラジュースかけられてる。
Mario Oni-chan peeked into my happy memory. It's kind of embarrassing looking at myself, sitting quietly there wearing the origami helmet that Dad had made me as a party trick. In my hand was a paper gun Battler Oni-chan had folded for me, and Mom was taking a commemorative photo. It was the happiest moment of my life.
でもマリアお姉ちゃんの誕生日だって負けてないよ。それで今日もらえるんでしょ、サク太郎は。
すっごく楽しみだった。ママのカバンの脇にあるプレゼントの包みを早く見せてもらえないかなとずっとワクワクしてた。
Sakutaro is the name of the stuffed animal Mario Oni-chan was to receive as a present today. For quite a long time, Auntie Rose had been making a stuffed animal to give to her as a birthday present today. It was apparently to be a cute lion stuffed animal, and Mario Oni-chan had already given it the name Sakutaro, even though she hadn't received it yet. Today, she was looking forward to meeting Sakutaro even more than celebrating her own birthday. Auntie Rosa ran a clothing design company. It did actually seem to have a brand name too, for what that's worth. I think it was just called Auntie Rosa in English. The slogan was supposedly, "I can't forgive the way I was before today." That's a strange slogan. Unfortunately, I've never met anyone who knew of that brand name. Maybe it wasn't that famous. So in any case, Auntie was pretty skilled with her hands. I heard that some of the clothing she wears she made herself, so making a stuffed animal had to be well within her capabilities.
手作りのぬいぐるみなんてちょっと素敵。ところでサク太郎って名前どういう意味でつけたの？
本当はさくらってつけたかった。でもオスライオンのぬいぐるみだから男の子の名前にしなさいって言われたの。だから男の子っぽく太郎を加えてサク太郎。最後の「う」はいつの間にかなくなっちゃった。
なんでさくらなの？
テレビアニメの主人公の名前。
That was apparently a popular anime at the time whose main character was a girl called Sakura. The fact she'd simply borrowed the name of a character she liked was, how should I say it, as innocent and cute as you'd expect from her age.
ママ、サク太郎まだ。サク太郎も一緒にお誕生日混ぜてあげたい。
プレゼントはいつも最後でしょ。今広げると汚しちゃうわよ。食事が終わるまで我慢しなさい。
じゃあ早く食事を終わらす。
As soon as she proclaimed that, she started tearing into her meal. Auntie Rosa scolded her, telling her not to make a scene. It seemed that she had seen it coming immediately. I had been thinking that if I were as straightforward as Mario Oni-chan, that would probably be exactly what I would do as well, so it brought a kind of warm smile to my face when my expectations weren't betrayed. In the end, Auntie Rosa succumbed to her daughter's eyes sparkling with anticipation, cleaned up the table, and took out the long-awaited wrapped present.
ハッピーバースデーマリア なかなか時間が取れなくてあまり上手に作れなかったんだけど。
ママの手作りなら何でも嬉しい。サクタロー、サクタロー。
Auntie Rosa spoke slightly humbly, but Mario Oni-chan was ecstatic even before opening the wrapping. I could really understand that feeling. It's not a matter of quality. Just the fact it was a handmade present was more pleasing than anything.
開けてもいい？開けてもいい？
本当はお家に帰ってからにしてほしいんだけど、ちょっとだけよ。ちょっと見て挨拶したら一度しまうのよ。ちゃんと挨拶するのはお家に帰ってからにするのよ。ここはお外なんだからはしゃいじゃダメよ。約束できる？
約束する。だから開けてもいい？開けてもいい？ママ。
はいはい。ちょっとだけよ。
Before Auntie Rosa finished her sentence, Mario Oni-chan started unwrapping the present. Are we going to get to see what it looks like? Oh, it's so cute! The tale of Sakutaro's tenacity, and straight away, yellow and orange peeked out. What appeared was a slightly blank-looking stuffed lion, with cute round eyes and a cute white chest. It was about the size of a small pillow. It looked pretty big, held by a short person like Mario Oni-chan, but it probably wasn't that large. From the perspective of someone who didn't know better, it would probably look like something cheap bought from a department store or something. But to Mario Oni-chan, it was her mother's handmade stuffed animal, the only one of its kind in the world and irreplaceable.
Sakutaro! Sakutaro! かわいいかわいい、すっごくかわいい。ママありがとう、ママありがとう。お仕事で忙しいのにこんなにかわいいぬいぐるみを作ってくれて本当にありがとう。
そんなに褒められるとかえって恥ずかしいわ。
It makes me think maybe Rosa didn't actually make it. She said she made it, but she actually bought it. And I'm imagining Mario walking into a department store and seeing the lion there too and just being like, wait a minute.
全然時間が取れなくて大したものを作れなかったの。
And maybe that's why Rosa's like all humble about it, just being like, oh, don't praise me too much.
本当は抱えきれないくらい大きなのを作るつもりだったのにね。
Look at me disparaging Rosa, being like, ah, she may not have even made it. Let's pretend. I'll say that she did.
これでいい。このくらいの大きさならいつも一緒にいられるもん。一緒にお出かけできるもん。サクタロー、お姉ちゃんだよ。
Maria looks so damn cute in this picture. Oh my goodness.
本当に可愛らしいぬいぐるみね。
It's amazing the difference her not having that little crown and her usual clothing makes her look like a different person.
この子がマリアお姉ちゃんの一番のお友達のサクタロウなのね。
学校には一緒に行けないけど、お家ではいつも一緒にいる一番のお友達なの。
I'm surprised that she didn't bring Sakutaro with her to Rokkenjima.
サクタロウはね、とっても無垢で可愛らしくて、そしていつもマリアに優しくしてくれるの。マリアに元気がない時には励ましてくれて、マリアが元気な時は一緒にいっぱい遊んでくれるの。だからマリアはもう寂しくなんかない。ママが仕事で忙しくて一人ぼっちでも寂しくないし、学校で誰も遊んでくれなくても全然寂しくないの。ねえ、サクタロウ。うりゅう。
At school, Maria Oni-chan was in a similar circumstances to me. Compared to the other kids in her class, Maria Oni-chan's tempo was always a beat too slow. Her impressionability and way of thinking about things were a little peculiar, and she was a little too idiosyncratic to blend in with them. Her grades were low as well, and yet she was talkative when it came to her specialist field of the occult, which led to her being treated like a weirdo by everyone else in the class. If she touches you, you'll be cursed. Stuff like that. Everyone in the class acted like she was gross, made fun of her, and avoided her, it seems. Boys who bumped into Maria Oni-chan would start wiping that part of them off against the other boys as if they'd gotten something dirty on them. They would pick up her stuff between pinched fingers like it was something filthy, and chase the other boys around with it. As for the girls, they appeared to find even speaking to her unpleasant. They ignored her completely, giggling and sneering at her whenever she made a mistake.
いじめっていつの時代も似たようなものなのね。人間ってほんと進化しないの。 転べばいいのに。
マリアはいじめられて悲しいけど、でも仕方ないと思うの。
仕方ない？どうして？
だってクラスには一人いじめられっ子がいないといけないってルールなんだもん。
最低なルールね。それを作ったやつの後頭部をレンガで殴ってやりたいわ。もちろん角で。もしもマリアがいなくなったら、きっとマリアの代わりに新しい誰かが新しいいじめられっ子に選ばれる。
She has such a pure heart. She's like, well, I don't mind being the bullied kid if it means that someone else doesn't get bullied instead.
マリアが我慢することで、マリアはその子をかばってあげられるの。
As she said that, she smiled faintly. Mario Oni-chan's way of thinking really is unusual. According to her, there's always a witch residing in the place called school. No, she says that anywhere that a lot of people gather will most certainly have a witch residing there. The witch tries to make the students perish by disease or accidents, so she can steal their souls. She sometimes also corrupts the souls, leading them down a path of evil. Mario Oni-chan told me that an angel came, not content to let that happen.
天使様はね、魔女をやっつけようとした。でも魔女は兄弟で、戦いは7日7番に及んだんだけど、それでも決着しなかった。疲れ切った魔女は休戦しようと言ってこう提案したの。
前に聞いたわ。私はこれまでクラスの生徒の半分を病気にしたり怪我をさせたりしてきました。でもその代わりに残りの半分の生徒は病気と怪我から守ってきました。だからもしもクラスの一人を私への生贄にいじめられっ子にしてくれるなら、その他全員の生徒を病気や怪我から守りましょう。だったっけ？
おう、天使様は考えたの。クラスの半分が不幸になることに比べたら、クラスの一人だけが不幸になることの方がずっといい。それに魔女はその強力な力で他全員の生徒の安全を守ってくれるという。
クラスに40人の生徒がいるとして、20人の犠牲者が1人に減って19人が助かるというわけね。実に合理的な提案。
I wonder if this fairy tale has some kind of motive. If it's a creation of Mario Oni-chan, a 9-year-old girl, that would be pretty impressive.
天使様はその提案を飲むことにした。だから一人の生贄によって19人は救われた。だからマリアの役割は大切なの。魔女は19人を守ってる。
私たちが生贄になることによってその19人に感謝された覚えはないけれど。
Mario Oni-chan's thinking is too compassionate. The miserableness of our situations is very similar. And yet, there's a difference in our inner peace just because of a small difference in our way of thinking.
それで、マリアお姉ちゃんは悲しくないの？
悲しくなんかないよ。だって、これからはサクタロが一緒だもん。ね、サクタロ。うりゅう、マリアと一緒なら僕も元気。ほら、サクタロも元気って言ってるよ。
Mario Oni-chan held up the Sakutaro stuffed animal, playing both sides of the conversation herself. I don't understand, but that's exactly why I want to reach Mario Oni-chan's level. It's what makes me so strongly interested in her tale and her words.
エンジェは一人ぼっちだから辛い？
辛いわ。でも、マリアお姉ちゃんとこうしていられる時間だけは別。一人ぼっちじゃないから。なら、
サクタロもお友達になればもっと楽しくなるよ。じゃあ今日からサクタロもエンジェの新しいお友達だよ。ね、サクタロ。ふりゅう？僕、エンジェのお友達？ふりゅう、エンジェ
Skillfully moving the stuffed animal like it was a puppet, Mario Oni-chan made Sakutaro emote. She was controlling him, but the charming way he waved his short hand and cocked his head to the side made it feel like he really was a new friend called Sakutaro. Of course, if you were to look at it with cold eyes, you would see only Mario Oni-chan comforting mopey old me with a stuffed animal. But that stuffed animal had definitely been imbued with a soul. The soul of Maria Oni-chan's love. So I accepted the existence of a being called Sakutaro inside that stuffed animal.
ほら、エンジェもサクタロに挨拶して。ほら、サクタロもご挨拶。うりゅう？エンジェ、怖い人？
Sakutaro timidly looked at me. He unexpectedly met my gaze and hid behind Maria Oni-chan's back in surprise. Maria Oni-chan really is good at playing with stuffed animals.
大丈夫だよ、サクタロ。エンジェは怖くないよ。とっても優しい女の子だよ。どうも、サクタロウです。ウリュウ。
はじめまして、サクタロウ。エンジェよ。新しいお友達になれて嬉しいわ。
I held out my right hand as though asking for a handshake, and Sakutaro's short hand was stuck out towards me and lightly touched my index finger. Aw, and Angie said she doesn't like handshakes, right? After all, the size is all wrong for a handshake between a human and a stuffed animal. This greeting by touching each other's fingers was our handshake.
これでもう、エンジェとサクタロはお友達だよ。一人よりは二人、二人よりは三人の方がもっと楽しいよ。うりゅう。
Maria Oni-chan had given the name Sakutaro to the stuffed animal she was going to receive on her birthday, and had warmed and expanded his existence in her heart for a long, long time. Therefore, even before she had met him, his existence had been supplemented into a personality. From the very first moment they met, the two of them were already friends. Of course, I don't think anyone could be personified in love as Sakutaro was. But that wasn't anything extraordinary in Maria Oni-chan's eyes. She loved the things she owned very much, treating them just like friends or beloved pets. Maybe it was partly that Auntie Rosa hadn't let her keep a pet, or maybe just her innate desire to treat things as though they were precious. Maybe it was that she was so isolated she'd been forced to find friends closer to home. Because of all those various circumstances, this wasn't anything extraordinary from her perspective. Yet even so, Sakutaro, no, maybe I should call him Sakutaro. I know there's a different way to say it because it's got the U at the end, but I'm just going to keep saying Sakutaro. Maybe I should call him Sakutaro like Maria Oni-chan. It was certain that Sakutaro was a stuffed animal. No, a friend who was more loved than anything or anyone. I say Angie is talking to a ghost Maria. So she's pretty good at personifying things as well that aren't there.
上機嫌ね。お友達が来てるの？サクタロと遊んでるの。サクタロったらね。
It was already past 9 at night. Rosa had asked out of surprise since this wasn't an appropriate time for a friend to be over. But when she thought about it, Maria didn't have any friends who would come over to play, did she? Even so, to think she'd have so much playing with that stuffed animal. Rosa was very pleased that Maria had liked her birthday present so much.
ごめんね。ママ、どうしても仕事が片付かなくて、来期のラインナップが難航してるの。ようやく少しずつ注目され始めたみたいで、なんとかここで期待に応えられるインパクトを与えたいのよ。
今夜もお泊まり？いいよ。頑張ってママ。
そうありがとうねマリア。ママのお仕事のことを分かってくれてありがとう。
Rosa was very surprised that Maria had accepted with such indifference that she couldn't come home. Telling Maria she would be coming home late or staying overnight had been a heavy burden for Rosa. Maria would start crying about how lonely she was on the other end of the phone. It took a lot of time and effort to calm her down. To think Maria would accept it in such high spirits. Is this also thanks to Sakutaro? Rosa was once again pleased she had given such a good present.
明日のこの時間には帰れるようにするわ。明日は一緒に夕食をとりましょう。マリアは夕食はまだよね。コンビニでお弁当を買ってきて食べてね。お菓子はダメよ。ジュースもダメよ。お釣りと一緒にレシートも入れておくのよ。
サクタロとお買い物。サクタロとお買い物。
こら、サクタロはダメよ。お留守番させなさい。
From Maria's manner of speech, Rosa got the feeling that Maria had been going shopping with that stuffed animal without her knowing about it. Rosa's forehead creased, and after sourly telling Maria she was absolutely not to, she hung up.
おお、サクタロとお買い物ダメだってママに言われた。
Now she's got the pumpkins in her room. She loves pumpkins, she loves Halloween.
ウリュウ、マリアとお買い物に行けない。一人でお留守番、寂しい。なんでママ、サクタロとお買い物行っちゃダメなんて言うんだろう。おお。ウリュウ、きっと僕がマリアと一緒にいるのを見られると恥ずかしいんだよ。恥ずかしい？なんで？ママはよく僕を外に連れて行っちゃいけないって言うし、マリアのことをよくもう何歳になったんだからダメとかそういう言い方をするし。マリアはサクタロと一緒で全然恥ずかしくないよ。僕はライオンだけどぬいぐるみだし。ライオンでぬいぐるみだけどマリアのお友達だよ。だから一緒にお出かけしよう。ママがいない時だけ内緒で。ひょっとしてサクタロも恥ずかしい？僕は恥ずかしくないけど。ウリュウ、ちょっとお外の人が怖い。そっか。じゃあサクタロが怖くなくて一緒にお出かけできるようにする。マリアに任せて。便利なのがあるの。
Maria started fishing around her messy room. Rosa often told her to clean it up, but she was just bad at cleaning up her room. However, she knew more or less where everything was. So much so that whenever Rosa would take it upon herself to tidy up, Maria would have trouble finding things. Maria proudly held it up high. Sakutaro looked at the gaping open knapsack and shifted uneasily.
マリア、もしかして。これなら一緒にお買い物に行けるし、サクタロも怖くないよ。
Maria held Sakutaro up and started stuffing him into the knapsack. At first, she tried to stick him in head first, but then he'd be upside down and suffocate. So she pulled him out and tried pushing him in again, feet first.
きつい、狭い、暗い。ほら、大丈夫だよ。頭を出せば狭くないし暗くないから怖くないよ。景色もいいよ。ウリュウ、本当だ。これならマリアと一緒にお買い物に行っても大丈夫？大丈夫だよ。今日のお夕食は何がいいかな。さあさあ、お出かけしよう、サクタラ。
マリアお姉ちゃん、楽しそう。
とっても楽しい。一人だったら寂しくてつまらないことでも、サクタロが一緒なら何でも楽しい。どんな人間のお友達だって夕方になったらお家へ帰らなきゃならない。でもサクタロは帰らないし、いつまでも一緒にいてくれる。一緒にテレビも見るし、お布団の中だって一緒だし、雷が怖い夜には手だって握っていてくれる。クローゼットやベッドの下のお化けだって追っ払ってくれるんだよ。サクタロ頼もしい。ウリュウ、マリアを怖がらせるお化けは僕ライオンだから勇気を出して追い払っちゃうよ。ウリュウ、ガオー。
They were so close that it made me a little envious. I'm supposedly older than Maria Oni-chan, but I call her nothing else. Even now, she stands above me like an older sister, and I'm yet to reach her level. If only I had a friend close by, like Sakutaro.
マリアもサクタロもエンジェの身近なお友達だよ。
I'm gonna say, how much longer are they gonna focus on the Sakutaro and Maria adventures? I'm like, this is all very cute, but I want to get back to the Rokkenjima stuff.
いつもマリアたちはエンジェのすぐそばにいる。
Or even just like Angie at St. Lucia dealing with that shit. This is kind of going on for a while.
でもエンジェの魔法が弱いから、こうしてマリアの日記を開かないと知覚できないだけ。
知覚？マリアお姉ちゃんは難しい言葉を知ってるね。
According to her, this world is full of magic and spirits, as natural and nearby as a light breeze.
風って普段は気にもしないし見えもしないけれど、お線香の煙とかがたなびくとそれを見ることができるんじゃない？
そうね。 そしてそれは見えなくても普段から私たちの身近にあるものだわ。
そういうこと。マリアもサクタロもいつだってエンジェのすぐ近くで一緒なんだよ。神様や精霊、守護霊も私たちのすぐ身近にいるの。でも意識しないと存在を感じられない。目では見えない風のように。でもそれは確実に私たちの身近にあって、魔力という煙がたなびけば誰にだって見えるものなの。
I had thought that I could only meet Maria Oni-chan when I opened this diary, but from what she said, she was always with me, and I could meet her at any time if I truly desired to.
マリアは自分の日記に日々の記録と一緒に自分の魂のかけらを残しておいたの。だからこの日記にはマリアの魔法の力が宿ってるの。でもそれはとても微弱なもので、エンジェ以外の人には誰も感じ取れない。
私にだけはわかるの？
うん。だってエンジェはマリアと同じで魔女の力を宿しているもの。エンジェだってちゃんとお勉強すればきっと将来立派な魔女になれるんだよ。
魔女？それは楽しいのかしら？
うん、楽しいよ。そうすれば日記を開かなくてもマリアやサクタロがいつも身近にいるのがわかるようになるよ。そしたら毎日がとっても楽しくなる。そしたらエンジェにマリアは他にもたくさんのお友達を紹介できるよ。そしたら毎日が忙しくてとっても賑やかになるよ。
それは楽しいかもしれない。マリアお姉ちゃんが残した魔導書も持ってるわ。今度真面目に読んでみるわね。そしたら私も一人ぼっちじゃなくなるかな。
Maria Oni-chan and Sakutaro said that at the same time, happy, I developed an interest in the world of witches. Oh my gosh. I was like, I don't really want to go to her, like, time to go get a bento box. Oh, damn it. Never mind. I was like, oh, maybe we're done with this. No, we're actually going to go and get the bento box. With half of Sakutaro's face peeking out of the knapsack on her back, Maria walked through the late-night shopping district in high spirits. It was only to be expected given the time. Everyone in the shopping district was either a shop owner lowering the shutters on their shop, or an employee rushing or else staggering back home. Amidst all that, Maria, in the best of moods as though she were hiking, probably stood out a great deal. The occasionally passing employees glanced backwards over their shoulders at her with the eyes of someone seeing something out of place. Office ladies giggled at the cute stuffed animal poking its head out of the knapsack. A supermarket had been closed for a while by this time. However, the recently popular convenience store stayed open until late into the night. It was very convenient for Maria, whose mother's return was often later still. Maria took the knapsack off her back and, hugging it close to her chest, she headed over to the sweet buns corner. She pointed to each of the sweet buns she had eaten before, explaining to Sakutaro that this one was delicious. That one was pretty good too. Sakutaro seemed to be enjoying it a lot.
マリアは3色パンにする。これ一つでね、あんことクリームといちごジャムが食べられるの。でもたまにウグイスあんだったり白あんだったりするの。あんこは一種類でいい。うりゅう、いろいろ入ってて面白そう。うりゅう。あとはマリアはフルーツヨーグルトにする。フルーツ入ってるけどお菓子じゃないよね。うん、きっとママも大丈夫。サクタルもどれか欲しい？売りゅう？いいの？お金は大丈夫？うん、全然平気。ほら、聖徳太子なの。うん。
Let's see that. Shotoku Taishi, or Prince Shotoku, is the extremely culturally influential Japanese regent depicted on the old 5,000 yen and 10,000 yen Japanese banknotes issued from 1958 to 1986. His name was used to refer to those notes informally. In modern Japan, 10,000 yen notes are sometimes referred to as yukichi after Fukasawa Yukichi, the figure on the new 10,000 yen banknotes that entered circulation in 1984.
だからサクタロにも好きなものを買ってあげられるよ。一緒に食べよう。サクタロもヨーグルト食べる？
When Maria made to grab another one of the same fruity yogurt, Sakutaro tilted his head as if he were a little worried.
うりゅう、 でも僕大きいのは食べられないから小さいのでいい。おお、じゃあこの小さいお菓子ヨーグルトは30円だね。安い。うりゅ、僕はそれでいい。マリアと一緒にヨーグルト。サクタルと一緒にヨーグルト。
Maria put the 3 flavored bun and 2 yogurts in a shopping bag and brought them to the register. The man working in the register, previously in charge of the tobacco shop that had been in the spot until last year, rang her up.
お嬢ちゃん、この時間によく見かけるね。偉いけど、今度からこの時間のお買い物にはお母さんと一緒においでね。
ママがいいって言ったから大丈夫。ママはいつもお仕事で帰りが遅いけど、マリアたちは寂しくなんかないの。ね、サク太郎。うりゅー。
そっか、そりゃ大変だね。ほら、ジュースを1本おまけしてあげるよ。
The man working at the store took a can of leftover soda or something from behind the register and packed it into the bag with everything else.
おじさん、ありがとう。よかったね、サク太郎。うりゅー。
Since she had been told not to buy soda, she couldn't take it back home. So she decided to drink it on her way back and not bring the empty can back home. With the plastic bag with the sweet bun in it hanging from her elbow, and hugging the knapsack with Sakutaro in it with the same arm, the two of them walked home drinking the soda.
柚子胡椒ソーダって微妙。サク太郎も飲んでみる？
That does sound weird. He just wanted to get rid of that soda.
うりゅうりゅうりゅうりゅうりゅうりゅわあ、うりゅう。マリアひどい。まじゅい。だよね。
Of course, it's not like she could actually make a stuffed animal drink soda. She just put the can to Sakutaro's mouth and pretended to tilt it. But it was great fun for Maria to share the taste of this weird drink that she had gotten for free with Sakutaro. There was a huge moon in the sky. At times, that moon had been clouded by tears when Rosa had stayed over at work, and Maria had thrown a tantrum and been scolded by her mother. But this moon was very warm, and it seemed to watch over the two of them as they enjoyed their trip home by themselves. Maria and Sakutaro. Angie watched the two of them go from behind. What a heartwarming sight. The sight of Maria Oni-chan and Sakutaro walking away together made it very difficult to remember the several occasions of which she had spent long nights crying because her mother hadn't come home. I couldn't admit this to Maria Oni-chan, but if I had been in the same position, even if I had been given that stuffed animal the name Sakutaro, it wouldn't have been anything more or less than a stuffed animal. Anyone can make a relationship which only distracts you from your loneliness, but Maria Oni-chan was different. Sakutaro wasn't a stuffed animal or a toy. He was a real friend, and far from just distracting Maria from her loneliness. He changed the nights without her mother into a fun time where they could play all by themselves. I feel like there's so much emphasis on Sakutaro. He's got to be a representation or an allegory for something, I'm imagining. About, like, it's all about perspective and the way you see things and how things other people might not see, you see. I don't know. Was it because Sakutaro was a special stuffed animal? Because her mother had made it herself? Because it was very, very cute? Probably not. If there's a secret here, it doesn't lie with Sakutaro. I think it probably lies within Maria Oni-chan. Alright, so that will do it for part 1 of episode 4. Started really strong. The introduction of Angie was very awesome to see, and her interactions with Badler were kind of sad, but like badass at the same time, that she's just like, just this really ruthless player in the game, and trying to instruct Badler on how to be better too, and then getting the backstory of Angie a little bit, and more of her life after her parents' death. The interactions with Ghost Maria were very sweet. I felt it dragged on a little bit, but I imagine it's got to be very important. The stuffed animal and Maria and everything. There's a reason why they put so much emphasis on that, and they put so much time into that. I'm thinking that that's very important to the story. But I am definitely excited to see more of Angie and Badler together. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and stay tuned next week for more of Chapter 4 and more of awesome Angie. Until then, bye. Special shout out to my top tier patrons: Nana, Sparky, Dumbass Loser, Tequila Mockingbird, Puncake G, Joel Ostman, Harry Gazif, Asborn Kennedy, Icognito, and Jared Fan.